Okay, good evening and welcome to the September 14th Board of Selectmen's meeting. If everybody would rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to start this evening just by sending our wishes to the Littlefield family. Selectman Littlefield lost his father last week, and he's not joining us this evening because of services. And certainly, we've all been thinking about Gordon and his family over the past few days. Announcements this evening: the winter drawdown of Ossipee Lake starts on October 1st, and just a reminder that this is the extra drawdown year so that folks can get some work done. Nomination papers for the Charter Commission are available. The deadline for submitting those is September 21st, which is next Tuesday. Hi, Joe.
Announcements?
Sure.
I'm sorry. But I noticed on your website there was an announcement about a pesticide pickup scheduled for October 1st. The State Attorney General had a press conference about a week ago about a pickup for prescription drugs. And that's scheduled for Saturday the 25th. It will run from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at a number of locations. Closest to us here will be over at Hannaford. So that's prescription drugs that may be sitting in the medicine chest. Bring them on in. Hannaford, 10 o'clock to 2 on Saturday the 25th. Prescription and over-the-counter solid dosage medications are accepted. No intravenous solutions, injectables, or needles. And illicit substances such as marijuana or methamphetamine will not be part of the pickup program. But again, 25th at Hannaford.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. All right, we have no appointments this evening. Hearing a delegation. Mr. Tibbetts.
I was here at the meeting last week, and I didn't stay for the whole meeting, but I did watch it on TV. And I'd like to commend David for his vote to think about the library and what it would cost for the people who might be affected by it. And I think the last time I've heard someone who actually took a lot of the other people into consideration like that was when Bob Fay was on this committee some time ago. He was a townsman, and he was all for the town of Waterboro. And I'm not saying you're not, but I think a lot of the politics are being played sometimes, and it's not. You know, there's so many issues here. Not just the water, but the wells, septic systems, where it's going to go, and a whole bunch of issues. And I really didn't think the people of Waterboro would be. And he hit it right on the nose when he said that a lot of the people who would be voting in November for this or for it or against it, if it went on the ballot, would not have done their homework and would have thought, well, it's a great idea. And I think it's a great idea. I just don't think the location is right and the money is not right for the town of Waterboro at this point. You know, the federal government is spending money like crazy, so we're not going to get handouts down to the states because they're not going to have it. States are not going to hand down money to the towns because they don't have it. And during the winter months, of course, a lot of people are struggling right now for pennies to put their kids through school, clothing, and when it gets into the fuel season and rental season and so on, you know, you're going to find yourselves in a spot where it's not going to be very comfortable, especially if it's a bad winter. If it's an easy winter, you might squeak through. But essentials at a time when the economy is bad is the most important product of the town. People have to have essentials. They don't have to have luxuries. And luxuries mean building, other things that cost a lot of money. A few years ago, we went through a thing with the fire department. We bought a lot of fire trucks. We bought new ambulance or whatever, and we spent a lot of money, and we're still paying for that, and that's fine. Those are essential. You have to have that stuff. But certain things, and believe me, the town of the library committee has worked very hard to get where they are. I just think it was unfortunate. If they'd have done it 10 years ago, they'd already be in it, because the economy then was great and it was fine. But we don't need to put ourselves in a position where we even offer it to the town if we think it's going to be detrimental to the town at this point. I just don't think it's a good thing. You know, everybody cuts back when they don't have the money. The town hasn't got the money, and you know, if they could find some entrepreneur that wanted to give them the money for the library, I'd be all for it, except I really don't think the location still is right, because it's not fair to the people on Oak, Hemlock, and across the street from Old Alfred Road to suffer consequences of their home life by having water in the cellars, contaminated wells, and septic systems that aren't working right, just so I can send my kid to a library. All the schools have libraries. Every school has libraries, so the kids are not going to suffer. But we don't need to have convention centers and libraries when we can't afford it. When we can afford it, fine, let's do it. When we can't afford it, we can't afford it. You know, that's one of the things that, you know, that this board is supposed to do. I know a few years ago, when this board consisted of Bob and a few other people, it was disgusting to sit here and watch it every night and know that what the outcome was going to be, because nobody was using their mind. It was more of an alliance than it was a board of selectmen. And I watched it every night, and it was terrible. I even came a few times, and God, that was really something. I mean, it was really bad, you know. And we've got past that, right? And I think that now's the time to start using our brains and what we're going to need to do for the people of the town. You know, I mean, a few years ago, we had reevaluation. My taxes doubled. Well, that's okay. I can afford it. I didn't like it, but I can afford it, all right? But, you know, my valuation went down, okay, because of the real estate thing. But I didn't see Jerry coming to me and saying, well, your real estate cut in half, so just send half your tax bill in this year, you'll be fine. He didn't say that. But he said it the first year, he said, your real estate's high, you know, you're great, you know, you're doing great. You know, it goes up, but when politicians get money up at this level, they don't come down when the valuation's at this level. They keep it at this level because they've already got the money, they're going to keep it. That's fine. And this year, my taxes went up about $400. And, you know, if we kept at that rate, in about 4 years, I probably have to think about selling because, you know, I'm almost 70, and I'm not going to have the resources that I had 10 or 15 years ago, you know, as I get older. But, you know, it's just a thing that kind of bothered me a little bit, you know, when you double your taxes and then a couple of years, you know, you're down the road, you know, another $400, another $400, another But, you know, you're doing this because you need money to run the town. But we have people out here that are laid off or working lower hours, and they're hurting, you know. We just don't, you know, you have to be fiscally responsible. And you have to think about what you can afford. You do this in your home budget every day. You do it in your home budget. You don't make $10,000 a year or $20,000 a year and say, gee, I'm going to buy a new truck, $30,000, because you know it's not fiscally responsible. You're not going to do that because you can't afford it. Well, we have to think about the town budget in the same way. You know, what people are hurting out there, and this year, according to the state government, that the people on welfare, and even the people that are working, can't afford, when they hit this winter with the oil and the fuel and the rent assistance, they're going to have lines out here that are going to be longer probably than you've ever seen. Because already the food pantries are already seeing an increase of 20, 30, 40%. It's not even bad yet, you know. And you're going to see the same thing for assistance. And so that's going to be another issue for you, you know, for money, you know. And these people, this is essential. And if that's what they need, I'd be for it 100%. I wouldn't even be here talking about it. But when the times are bad, the time for essentials is important, you know? And I can't stress enough that, you know, we think about these things as the winter approaches, you know?
Well,
And
we do have an agenda item this evening where we're going to be discussing the library referendum question again. So,
I do have one small issue.
Sure.
And that's because an elderly person asked me, and I don't know a thing about it, so I asked him, I told him if I was coming tonight, I would ask you. He said, what happened to the signs? He said, somebody, I guess I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know what it cost. I probably wasn't even here when it was voted in, but I guess you voted in some new signs for the town. And he asked if I could ask you, because he can watch it on TV, but he's not able to come. And I said, well, I would ask you where they were at, what stage you were at, and when you know.
they're actually being developed by RSD Graphics. They're building the signs, and my understanding is that they're pretty close to being complete. And the arrangements have been made for folks to gather together and build put the post in. We're getting there's some granite posts
Okay.
that's going to be put in. They're going to be putting some rock wall gardens around them. But the first step is that the signs need to be completed. There's 2 vendors that are creating the signs, and they're working on them. I'm hoping to have them in before the frost.
I see. Well, he's listening tonight, so I'm sure
That's
that'll be
good.
fine for him. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Any other hearing and delegation?
Jerry has, we just, let's do a quick.
Just a quick note on, if I may,
Go right ahead.
Madam Chairman. Getting a few calls today, as you can imagine, but I'm getting a lot of calls on the reason why the homestead exemption was reduced, and it's on the tax bill, right about in this area, and it pretty much says that the state legislature in this last legislative session reduced the homestead exemption from $13,000 to $10,000, which produced, I think, millions of dollars in Augusta, but it kind of shorted a lot of the municipalities in Maine, and I thought I'd make that announcement. That's
Okay.
it.
Great, thank you, Jared.
Thank you.
Any other hearing and delegation? Okay, moving along, correspondence. We had one that was added to our packet today. Last week, we asked the Road Review Committee for recommendation on installing a stop sign at the Ossipee Hill Road, Straw Mill Brook Road intersection, and the Road Review Committee has responded. After the Road Commissioner and members of the Road Review Committee completed an investigation of the location of the stop sign request at the intersection of Ossipee Hill Road, Straw Mill Brook Road on the Middle Road side, the Road Review Committee concluded that a stop sign would be beneficial on the Middle Road side of the intersection. The committee concludes at this time there is a dangerous intersection and a yield sign at this intersection, but a stop sign would be safer for everyone utilizing these roads. We're requesting that a stop sign be installed by the Road Commissioner expeditiously. Sincerely, James Gendron, Road Review Committee. Would the board like to add that under old business tonight to discuss and vote?
So moved.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? So that will be number 4 under old business. Okay, reports, town administrators report.
I just have a couple of things. One of the things I gave copies to the board that came in today's mail is a memorandum on the 12th town group meeting on Monday night. Jeff Herman from MMA will be here to get ready for the October candidates night. I want to get that out in case any of the other, all of the selectmen are, I think, John, you go.
Me and
We
John.
want to get questions ready. Questions ready for Monday night. The other thing is, we're doing a department head kickoff CIP meeting on Thursday. And we have one little item I will give the boards a heads up on is the boiler at Central Fire Station. It looks like that's gonna have to be replaced, and we're Matt's gonna be obtaining some quotes, so that will be coming before the board.
How old is it?
It's been there since the building's been there 2000.
Yeah.
It's been a continuous problem. And it really needs, it's been having so many Band-Aid repairs to it that it's beyond Band-Aid.
Anything else, Nancy?
That's it.
Selectmen's report? John, you want to start?
I visited with the Finance Committee last night, and we talked a lot about this past year and being on the Finance Committee. We first of all talked about the Finance Committee making a presentation for new membership and saying, what does the Finance Committee do? Well, there's one area that everybody is clear on, and that is the committee shall make recommendations to the town before the annual town meeting. That's part of the budget process. Where there seemed to be more concern and lack of direction is what do they do the rest of the year. And I think we talked a fair amount about the selectmen giving the Finance Committee procedures to follow and jobs to do. And felt that with that, the selectmen know what the Finance Committee has been asked to do. The Finance Committee knows what they've been asked to do, and maybe it would be a more of a gratifying experience outside just the regular budget process. So that was a lot of the discussion, and I will be bringing this up further to the Board of Selectmen to come up with procedures that we wish the Finance Committee to follow throughout the year. We are, I think they all want to get together and put together a public service announcement, and we just need to come up with a time, and I think they'll all participate in it. I'll introduce them, and they'll tell people what it's about and the obligations.
Okay, David?
Yeah. What's the committee that John Tuss is on, that I'm supposed to be doing a PA on?
ZBA and road review, yeah.
Road review. All right. I haven't caught up with him yet, but need to do that, and to follow up on Paul and some things that Jerry has said. I mean, it's a good thing I was sitting down when I opened my tax bill, because, I mean, we have to look at this situation. I mean, everybody is screaming. And we just need to be vigilant in what's going on around here. That's all I got.
Dennis, do you have anything?
Met with the 2020 committee last week. There will be some discussion relative to their needs as we go forward, relative to funding some of their focus group activities and whatnot, but we'll take that one step at a time rather than, I know somebody threw a big number out that this is what we need for a budget, but, so we'll work through that. So. But pretty energized group, had some folks that were there as just general citizens that had an interest, and I think they're well on their way to putting this thing together.
All right, great. Committee reports, planning board. Frank, is that you?
That would be me. Good evening, Frank Allen. I'm the junior member of the planning board. That's why I get to come every month.
Very quick this month, we've had one workshop with the selectmen. I suspect you'll fill us in on where you're going with that. We haven't had anything else. We've had the same two developments. They're still waiting for some reports to come back in, and we're meeting tomorrow night with a workshop on the marijuana moratorium, which seems to be a moot point since they've already issued it in Biddeford, so, or the ordinance, rather. Other than that, very quiet.
We're going to talk about the moratorium or the ordinance a little bit later. Still want to move forward with it.
Sure.
Just because start with one, that doesn't mean a year from now the state might say, well, we're going to pop a couple more up, so we need to still move forward with
How
that.
much of a tax revenue it is.
Yeah.
Well, we just tossed 48,000 cars at Biddeford, so I'm sure they're going to enjoy the revenue. But I would have rather had it here. But, and the other one I think we're going to bring up is from the last 2 weeks' conversation. It looks like we might need some change in regulations and restrictions on the magic triangle in building. We're talking a lot of emotion with one library. Right next to that's a church, and there's plenty of open land. So I guess if we're going to put a moratorium on building up there and maybe restrict it, that's what the other thing on the agenda tomorrow night. So I think it's about time to do that. But that should be interesting. Good. That's it.
I have a question,
Sure.
if I would. I'm not sure what the procedure is with the planning board, but when they change a plan, a submitted plan that was approved, and then 2 or 3 years, several years down the road, they change the plan on what can take place there and allow other types of buildings.
Mm-hmm.
I guess right now it's not the procedure to notify the abutters.
Sure. We always notify the abutters. There's some things you have to notify abutters on, and some things you don't. I mean, subdivisions you do, a lot of changes you do. What would come to mind, things we've done in the last...
Well,
I'm junior member.
let me
so I'm
give
not-
you an example of the
I'll
Henry.
give you one. We changed the regulation up here. We went from a 55
Yeah,
restriction and took that away.
right.
And that took 3 months by the time we got it through the lawyers and everything else and what we had to do, but I don't think we notified abutters except for the immediate ones on that, and they were all there anyway, so.
Well, I had an abutter contact me and said he wasn't notified.
Oh, interesting. I'm not sure we have to on that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you don't have to, I would like to see that changed where you do have
That'd be a
to.
good suggestion from the selectmen at the planning board, and I'm sure we can put that in, discuss it, and adding one I can see, taking it away, sure. Look forward to hearing from you and with that request.
You will hear from us,
Good.
Frank. Good.
Who's on the planning board these days?
Oh, it's a motley crew. I'm junior member, Judy Carl. Kurt, I can't remember the first name.
Clausen.
Is on, and Tim, just the 4 of us.
Okay.
Not a very big crowd, we can use some more. Thinking about it?
No.
Anything else? Good, thanks.
Zoning Board of Appeals. Are you here for that? Town planner.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, Selectmen, Town Administrator. I've been asked to kind of synopsize some of the activities that we're working on. Frank has mentioned some of the planning board activities. Of those planning board activities, there are 2 pending subdivisions. One for Green Court Acres subdivision off of West Road, that's 19 lot subdivision. and Meadowbrook Acres 2, which is a 13-lot subdivision. And I only put these in here just for clarity so that there's some locational maps, just so that the Board of Selectmen know the size and extent of these two particular subdivisions. They're both up at DEP, and it's the position of both the Planning Board and myself that the town not proceed ahead with final approval until the opinions come down from DEP. As I believe the full board is aware, the original submittal of the Safe Routes to Schools application was amended. The state looks to be quite favorable on that application. It's extremely competitive. I believe there was $45 million worth of requests and about $6 million to go around. It's currently in the review stage. I did submit within the time prerequisites to get the amended application back up there. And so the size of the scope of the project has changed. It's increased in size. We'll know more on that probably in the late winter months as to whether or not we were successful. I've begun to scope out the preliminary contract for Efficiency Main Trust. That's our next municipal step. There's now a designated grant administrator, and she and I are working on the scoping of a preliminary contract. They'll look at it, and when it reaches almost final contract stage, then I'll bring it to the Board of Selectmen and to the town administrator so you can take a look at the contents of it. Excuse me. That'll include both the energy audit, of which we received a grant for, as well as monies for an energy component to the comprehensive plan. On the audit portion, I've spoken with LaSalle Architects, who have done a goodly number of these type of energy audits. They've done the York County Courthouse and municipalities and are looked at quite favorably by the state of Maine. So I'm talking with Mike LaSalle to see if he can work within the constraints of that amount of money that's invested for the audits. Additionally, I've started some conversations with academia for the energy component chapter of the comprehensive plan. That will end up having to go out for a request for proposals. We're going to do something a little bit different that most municipalities don't do. We're going to do a request for interested parties first to see what the interest is, see where that interest is coming from before we scope out something that we don't have enough money to pay for. So it's an interesting approach, asking for an RFI before an RFP. That gives you a sense of how far you can stretch those dollars. And so I'll continually keep Nancy posted on that as we progress, and that'll be happening probably in November, December of this year. I've had some meetings with a gentleman by the name of Phil Bonus, who's the land development manager for Jacobs. Jacobs is a private engineering company based in both Massachusetts and in the state of Maine, and they've received the state contract to go through all communication systems for the entire state. What will be forthcoming will be some changes to the fire tower. And by changes, it's likely to change in height. And the reasons for this is it's a state and federal mandate for security systems. This is going to be a change in communication link-ups, and we don't have the details. No plans have been filed yet. They'll be going, obviously, to the planning board and the selectmen once we receive details. But the point man is Phil, and we've had some meetings to kind of get a sense of what his timing is and what he's looking to do. And I wanted to bring the board on that because I wasn't sure if you were aware of that activity, but that's happening throughout the entire state. As Dennis has pointed out, first we're grateful to have a selectman attending our 2020 meetings. We've got a pretty faithful group. We're usually batting 90 to 100% in terms of attendance, full of energy. The group is really working well. Within the next couple of weeks, we'll be having our first visioning session, and that's going to be with our town elders. The reason we're doing that meeting with the elders first is because some of them go south, and we want to take advantage of their wisdom and their input. So we invite people to attend that particular meeting, as well as others that we'll be having. What we've designed is something really interesting in terms of visioning. Rather than have one large sort of group session, we've decided to have a special visioning meeting for the elders, a special visioning session for the young adults, that being middle school and high school, and then the general populace. And so we're pretty excited about it. We'll see what the outcome is. Additionally, I'll be preparing a strategic plan for the balance of the year for the 2020 group. We've got a pretty good head of steam, and I'm quite pleased with where we're heading. Our hope is, if we can stay both on track and keep the energy level up, to have at least 2 chapters of the proposed comprehensive plan done prior to town meeting next year. I know that sounds ambitious because we're doing it all internally and without any public funds. Along the lines of involving young adults in the visioning, because part of our vision statement is leaving a legacy for the next generations in the community. I will get you a copy of the adopted vision statement that the 2020 committee has adopted. And part of that deals with a legacy for the community. So we want to definitely involve the young adults. I've talked with the principal and the student leadership team so that we can design both a written and an oral survey that we'll do for them, so we'll have some good solid input. I've started some municipal research, which I'll report to the planning board tomorrow night, on marijuana dispensary host communities, what some of the host communities have done. So after I present that to the to the planning board tomorrow evening, then I'll pass on a copy of that to you too, so you can see what some of the other communities have done. I'm continuing to participate in the Central York County Transportation Connection Study. The next meeting is October 14th. I have a full list of the participants, who the people are, not only on the steering committee, of which I'm a part, but also the advisory committee. And if you'd like to have copies of that, I can provide them through Nancy. Additionally, I'm keeping my radar up, my antenna up, on the likelihood of any infrastructure funding that may be coming down from Capitol Hill. The discussions are pretty lively on that at this point in time. It would be a fiscal 11-12 funding cycle, if it comes to be. If it comes to be, and it's still anyone's guess. But they are talking about criteria. It's going to be similar to the criteria of the stimulus monies. All municipalities that participate are going to have shovel-ready projects. Shovel-ready projects means having all your engineering done and your priorities established as to where you want to invest money. So in order to be competitive, we'll need to have any projects that we may contemplate, that the Board of Selectmen or the Town Administrator would like to contemplate me packaging, we'd have to have detailed engineering work already pre-done. And then lastly, I've started my refresher readings on the Davis-Bacon Act and the Buy American Act. I've given copies to Nancy, and the town treasurer will need to refresh herself also as to the details in our contractual responsibilities. Any of these federal grants, I think you're going to see these two, Davis-Bacon as well as Buy American, as well as additional federal mandates, become part of our fiscal responsibility. It's going to be part of the contract, and in order to participate in any of these grants, we're going to have to fulfill those mandates. So I figured we might as well start reading up on it, because there have been some changes to Davis-Bacon Act. Okay.
The 2020 committee, are they meeting this week on Thursday?
This coming Thursday?
No?
No.
Okay.
No. Okay.
Well, I ran into Diane, and she said she sent me an email that she wanted me to read tonight, and I didn't get it from her, and it was for something for Thursday. I thought she said the 2020, so Diane, if you've got your email on.
Not the full committee, but we'll be getting together to prepare for the elders presentation.
Okay.
Yeah. We've
Jack?
designed a series of questions.
Oh,
Jack is part of a subcommittee with Diane and Sandy Bennett.
okay.
Jack, did you want to?
Bear in mind, it's a week from Thursday. The regular senior luncheon is starting at 11:30 instead of 12 for those who want, and it's going to 1:30. And we're going to weave in a visioning session along with dinner.
Okay.
It'll be the best fed visioning session in the group.
And we're hoping because of that particular initiative that maybe the Board of Selectmen may come up with some creative type of way of providing food for the general populace type of visioning session, which will be coming up in November.
Any questions for Tom? Okay, thank you, Tom.
You're welcome.
Okay, moving on to new business, discuss vote Sanford PSAP Advisory Committee appointees. In our correspondence a few weeks ago, we received a letter from the town of Sanford. The Public Safety Answering Point 911 Dispatch Center in Sanford was under the direction of the local Sanford Police Department. That has recently changed. It is now under the direction of Mark Green, the town manager, and they've appointed R.J. Legier as the director, and they are looking for all the towns that have participation in Sanford PSAP to have some representation on an advisory committee that they're creating. They're asking for a primary and a alternate. I talked to, Gordon expressed interest last week, and I talked to Matt also. So it seems if everybody's agreeable, Matt would like to be the primary and Gordon would like to be the alternate. So is there any discussion on that or a motion?
So move.
Okay.
As stated.
Is there a second? Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? All right. Discuss Parks and Rec fun-ergy camp. Had a issue last week that kind of popped up. The Parks and Rec is now running a program called fun-ergy. It's a before and after school program that is being held here at Town Hall. Originally, they were talking about holding it in the school, but unfortunately, just as things worked out, it's over here at the Town Hall. It starts at 6 a.m. and it runs until school starts in the morning, and then it picks back up in the afternoon at 3, and it runs until 6 p.m. or so in the evening. Problem that they ran into last week was that the hall was rented out when they had the fun-ergy camp going. It was a rental that was made before the program started, and so they were able to move the program elsewhere for the day, but it just brought to light that we need to make sure that there's not going to be any problems again with conflict of rental space. So Pam's just going to make sure anything that we have come in from this point on doesn't interfere with that town function. But one of the things that we recognized in talking to Mike about this was that if you take a walk over there, you're going to see that they have quite the setup going over there for the kids now. And if the hall gets rented out for an evening event, they're going to have to pick everything up, and then they're going to have to get everything set back up before 6 o'clock in the morning. Their staff is coming in at about 5:45 in the morning. We currently get $50 for residents to rent that hall, but talking to Mike, he's thinking that You know, if we're going to have to tear everything down, store it so that there can be an event, then they're going to have to come back and set it back up. It's going to take a couple of hours of overtime for staff to tear down and set back up before the 5:45 starts. So Mike and I talked about it, and we were bantering about, should we look at perhaps increasing the rental fee so that it covers, the fee would cover staff having to tear down and put back up. So I wanted to throw that out for discussion.
First of all, it's not a recreational building, it's a town hall.
Right.
So I think that has to be foremost put, and maybe there needs to be a discussion with the Parks Director that what is the priority of the building? I mean, it is available for people to rent. I think today $50 is probably cheap compared to what they could rent, but I think we all need to sit around and understand what is the primary use of the hall, because there are some structural issues that I think that we need to address if in fact it's going to be used as a recreation building. And I'm not sure that the folks are in on that at this point, but something that we need to tee up. I know Mike thinks it's his building, but the fact of the matter is that it is the municipal complex, right? So,
How long is this before and after school program
For the school year.
for the school year?
On days when it's a snow day, holidays, whatnot, then it runs all day. Other than that, the response that he got for the program exceeded what his expectations out of the gate were. He had, I believe it was 14 slots that were full-time slots that got eaten up within the first week, and then there's 15 slots that are for part-time. You know, somebody needs to come a day here, a day there, and they're taking it right up. He's very busy with the program. So maybe what we need to do is just kind of next week, maybe we could get Mike in here and.
I think there's two issues. You got, one is the, the functional use of the building. The other thing is that, and I understand what he's trying to develop here, but are we truly a fun-ergy program, or are we an alternate to daycare? Big daycare, not little daycare, but with how many people are using it, what is the, what's the goal and objective of the program other than to occupy the students' time before and after school?
I do know, from what he explained to me, is they have one counselor that sits with the students while they do their homework. They provide healthy snacks, and the whole premise is to get kids moving and get them engaged in healthy eating, healthy moving their bodies, activity.
Which is a good daycare center after school, and preschool daycare center will do the same thing. I mean, that's good, and but that's basically a daycare function. So the question is I think it's a service for the community, but it certainly ties up town hall in the morning and early afternoon, and so how many other activities are possibly not happening because of that? That would be my major question. What can't happen because this is being used every day?
All right, so why don't we plan on getting Mike in here next week and engage in that conversation?
Yeah, I think I'd like to take a look at what have been the last 10 rentals usage.
Nancy,
know?
is there, I mean, during the week, are there many rentals for that facility?
It can be off and on. The census used it for 2 weeks. Right off, I would have to go look, because Pam handled all of that, see what use is used. It's used for the flu shot clinics in the fall. I'd have to look. I can pull out the applications and see.
All right. On to old business, discuss vote on the PACE ordinance. In our packets this week was the sample PACE ordinance that is published by Efficiency Maine. There are 2 different ordinances that they have models for. I asked Pam to put the one in our packet that puts the responsibility of the program on Efficiency Maine. The other model that they have puts all of the responsibility on the municipality. We had a guest speaker a few weeks ago come in and talk about PACE. Joe was here for that conversation. I think Tom had a little bit of input into it as well, as did Nancy. In order for residents to be able to get a PACE loan, the town has to adopt one of the PACE ordinances. So I have it on the agenda for discussion.
The scary part is the more I read this, the more I don't find that there's anything wrong, right? I mean, this seems like this is too good to be true to some extent, but I think truly we've got an opportunity here to help local residents that want to enter into a contract with PACE. And if all this takes is for this ordinance to go in place, I'd move that we adopt it. Does that mean we have to go to public hearing?
Yeah.
So I would say that I would move that we initiate the action to adopt this ordinance.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay. I know Nancy, Pam's on vacation this week. Can we just, when she comes back next week, get this to her so she can change the wording so it's reflective of Waterboro? And we'll need to set up get that draft to us, and then we'll set up a public hearing. I believe we have to have this done by November. Was it November 1st?
I don't think they have funding until November, right?
Yeah, but we wanted to make sure that we get it complete before the first round of funding comes out, so our residents aren't losing out on anything, so kind of make sure that we get this moving right along. Discuss vote medical marijuana ordinance. I just wanted to make sure that this stays on our radar. We have 6 months. Moratorium's in place for 6 months. We can extend it, but it would be nice if we could get this wrapped up so that we don't have to extend it beyond the 6 months. Looking at this, 6 months sounds like a lot, but we've already gone by 1 month. And then you get a plan, you're going to need at least a month for any public hearings or whatnot, so that gives us 4 months. And in that 4 months' time, you're talking about the planning board only has 6 meetings or so in that time frame. So it sounds like the planning board's already on tap to talk about it tomorrow night during a workshop. Nancy, do you see anything at this point? We start with the planning board and let them make their recommendations. Is there anything that the Board of Selectmen needs to do to get this moving?
Hear from the planning board, but you might want to put it under pending decisions instead of keeping it under your old business.
Any comments from the board on this? All right. Update on the library referendum question. After last week's meeting, We had a request to find out what the process would be if there was going to be a citizens' initiative to get this item on the ballot. And so we went to our legal counsel, Ken Cole, and we asked him for a time frame, and what Ken responded to us was that we actually did not need a unanimous vote of the Board of Selectmen to put this on the ballot. We were looking at the charter, which is very specific to town meeting. And because this is not town meeting, then it doesn't fall under what the provisions of the charter are. It falls under the provisions of state statute. And the state statute only requires a request to have it on the ballot with a 7-day notice. So we're well within the 7-day notice. It's not the town charter. I mean, it's not town meeting. So this item actually can be on the ballot based on the vote from last week. Ken even went on further to say that by not putting such an item on the ballot after we've had a request, it could actually open the town up to liability. So under that premise, we need to put it on the ballot. Paul?
If you're going to do this, I think it's only fair to the people of Waterboro to have a mailing go out and let them know what the repercussions could be in plain English, not in a big format type thing, but to let them know that if it goes through, what it's going to do to their taxes, what it's going to do to the water problem in Waterboro, and so that they can vote intelligently, because he was right, because a lot of people won't investigate this because they don't listen to these meetings, and they may go in there and think it's a wonderful idea, not knowing what the repercussions will be. And I think if a simple mailing would go out to all the people in town, so that they would have an idea and could intelligently go to the polls and vote based on what they know, then it would be at least honest and above board, instead of just putting it on the ballot saying, you know, it's a library and, you know, and for the town of Waterboro and so on and so forth, and it's a $2 million bond. A lot of people don't even think of that as what it's going to reflect upon them as far as their taxes, as far as what the town is going to accept the responsibility for the water problem, the town's responsibility for any lawsuits or anything from people who have their wells contaminated, and they've already come up with evidence of that situation. And we need to tell the people why they need this and what it's going to affect them in the near future.
Well, I think, first of all, it's speculation that there's anything that the town's done that's contaminated any wells. So I think, we need to lay that out there. There's nothing there right now that puts any responsibility on the town. There are water issues out there. They're being worked on. If this was to pass at referendum, then before the structure could be built, the planning board would have to approve any permits or whatnot, and based on the sensitivity of the area and what we recognize are water problems, I think the planning board is going to be quite diligent in making sure that any water issues are going to be handled appropriately. We can't it's almost like you're asking us to put out something that is almost not encouraging the people not to vote for the library. And, I understand what David was saying about, people being informed, and I don't think it matters kind of what you're putting on the ballot. I mean, there was a lot of people, my experience, when we had the elections earlier in the spring and being at the polls, there were a lot of people that didn't understand what the issues were on the ballot. But voters need to educate themselves, and there's certainly going to be ample opportunity for them to do that. There'll be a public hearing next week. There's been a number of ads that have been in the newspaper. I believe there's some...
So the public hearing will be televised?
Yes, it's our meeting next week,
Okay.
On the 28th.
Okay.
I believe there's been ads in the newspaper. So I think that there's information out there, and hopefully people will look into pros and cons and make a decision based on what's in the best interest of the community. But I don't know, and I mean, the rest of the board, I'm sure, will speak up with their thoughts. But I don't think a mailing from the town, almost not selling the library.
Well, I'm not asking, I wouldn't be asking you to discourage them from voting for a library. I just wanted them to have all of the facts in plain language so that they could read it and understand it. So a lot of times, you know, a lot of people don't listen to these meetings, and they don't stay informed. And when they get to the ballot booth, they really don't know, you know, what's going on, you know, with the other factors. Because once they get there, the water issues and the other issues of people's property aren't on that ballot. All that ballot says is that, you know, we want to issue a $2 million bond for a public library. It doesn't say that there are water issues, that the land is terrible, and that other people already have issues from what the school was built. It doesn't say any of that. So it doesn't really give them an opportunity to know what the facts are. And I understand what you're saying, is people ought to be informed, but this is a small town, and it's not Fort Maine, where people are a little more sophisticated, you know.
I think folks are quite smart in this
maybe
town.
they are,
We have a lot of professionals
I
that
know
live
you
within
do.
our community,
I
and
know you
I
do.
would disagree that we're not a small town anymore. We're growing. We're more of a
8,000
mid-sized
people.
town now.
And I think 8,000 pretty sophisticated people.
Yeah.
Well, maybe so, and I hope you're right. I really do hope you're right. But 8,000 is still small, you know, in comparison to, you know, Sanford or Biddeford or, you know, some of these other communities. 8,000 people is still pretty small, and we still have to come up with the money. And right now the economy is terrible, and it's not going to rebound at least for 2 years.
Jack is dying to get in on this
I know he is,
conversation.
and
He's
I-
been patiently raising his hand back there,
him.
so
Believe me, I have nothing against him, you know.
we're
And
gonna,
he worked very hard for his, his library, and I don't blame him, you know. But we're gonna have some issues, and I just want everybody to be informed of what they need to know.
Jack?
Democracy makes an outrageous assumption that whether the populace is informed or not informed, more often than not, they get it right. And if we made the populace being informed a criteria, we wouldn't have very many things on the ballot. It's just the nature of the way it is. There's been lots of information in the reporter and these meetings, et cetera, et cetera. Beyond all that, on September 28th, there'll be a public hearing. It's already been advertised. All those issues will be out there. You're more than welcome to come. Raise all the questions you want. We'll address them as best we can. We may or may not satisfy everybody, but we'll tell you what our take on it all is. Yesterday, Doug Foley and I took a walk on the site, which is a great educational experience. It's amazing to walk along land with people who know the land. On Thursday, Steve Groves and Doug Foley and I are going to walk the site again. We're looking to be clear about what we know and what we don't know about the water flow on that land. We'll try to figure out what we need to know that we don't know and how we go about doing that. And the goal is to create a plan that takes the concerns seriously. The plan may or may not make people happy, but we will, and we are, the very fact that we're walking the land and developing all that is taking their concerns quite seriously. So what the plan is, I don't know yet. And when I know, hopefully by the 28th, we'll tell you what we do know. And you're correct, I'm willing to spend some money, but not a huge amount of money until post-referendum. If we're not building a building, it's moot until somebody else comes in and decides they want to build on the land. If we do, then we've got another whole set of issues, and we'll address those. So
I think the bottom line is that this is all gonna be replayed when we have the public hearing,
Yeah,
so.
it's all going to be there. So for those of you who are listening, tune in on the 28th or come down and speak your voice and whatever you want. We'll address the economic issues. I did fuel assistance for 7 months, talked to 1,200 people, all of whom qualified, so I'm very much aware of the economic stuff. But for the increase in their taxes, people who are really hurting have a tremendous amount of access for the price of less than a paperback, an unlimited supply of books, DVDs, access to technology, and we'll develop all of that in great detail. So, if they're interested in being informed, they can be informed. If they don't tune in, not much I can do about it. And there's been lots of information out there, if they've read, and I'm aware that not a lot of people read a lot of things. I don't know what you do about it.
All right, so
If you
any other-
solved that, a lot of people would be very happy.
any other comment from the board? What's up? Okay. Number 4, the street sign. So we had the request for a stop sign. We have a recommendation from the road review committee. I talked to Fred, who's gone, and Fred certainly agrees with putting a stop sign there and is ready to take care of that right away if the board votes.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay. Other warrants for bills and payroll?
So move.
Second? All those in favor?
Just a quick question, Nancy, we held the water districts check last week, I presume? I mean, it was,
The note was on there.
the note was on there.
I would have to check.
Just, could you double check to see, because we need to resolve that.
Yep.
I'm not sure why we pay them all at once anyway, but.
Other sign minutes for 8/17. I think we're on here.
So moved.
Second.
Yep. All those in favor? Pending decisions. The PSA committee commercials are supposed to be under there, and we'll add the medical marijuana ordinance under there. The week's action list, we'll let Sanford know that Matt, Chief Boers, and Gordon Littlefield will be on the advisory committee. Get Pam next week when she's back to start working on the PACE ordinance. And we'll get Fred to put in the street sign, stop sign. Discussion of agenda items for next week. We had a couple things. We had review our growth ordinance. We had start working on more work on the town hall restructuring plan. We had some discussions to have on that.
Bring Mike in.
Yep, bring Mike in. We wanted to have general assistants come in and just kind of get an update on where we are with general assistants. I think we need to talk about that. We may need to do that in executive session because it's general assistance, so we'll have to kind of explore that a little bit. So if you see an executive session on the agenda next week, it'll be about that. Anything else for the agenda next week?
I'd like to review the planning board's procedure on changes of, I don't know, the plans, I guess, and the abutters. Also, I'd like to review and look at other town administrators' reports on what's in it. I don't know if that's something you do then, or you do in a workshop, or what?
As far as,
Information reported.
Where do we stand with at least the feedback from Owen?
He just received the copy of the bid proposals yesterday. And he said he'll start reviewing them and get to me as soon as possible.
I
That's-
think we need to really sit back and look at what we need to do to make that happen, whether it's, we look at a used compactor, there's gotta be some way that we,
When we held the pre-bid meeting, there was no used
Yeah, I
compact
see.
available.
Now, if we were to change the specs and go with a used compactor, does that mean we have to go back out to bid? So,
is there an opportunity based on the line items that everybody bid that could award a bid exclusive of that line item?
We'll have to review the bid one more time to look at it, because we did change some wording in there.
Because they bid on each category. You wouldn't spread it all around, but if the municipality decided that we made a direct deal with a compactor company, I'm just, we need to look at, we'll see what Owen comes back with, and then I think we need to have a workshop or something that we discuss. It's very obvious that they're 40% higher than what they were the last time. And there's something that drives that, not just the pricing of today's. The low bid was 40% higher than where we were last time, 2 years ago.
And what you'd expect with the economy that they'd be more competitive at this time, and
So
it would
this-
drop down
I
rather than go
understand
up,
that
so,
we did not include the price of the compactor last time.
yeah,
That was not in that
Correct.
bid.
that's 20,
But,
That was a separate.
200, or rather, 20-something thousand.
so, anyway, for next week or whatever.
okay.
The boiler, how are we going to get information on this as to, is it coming from one source? Is it coming just because we've had to have it serviced many times and the person servicing say it's going? Or, this is a major expense and it's only been 10 years, So I'd be interested into getting a report from
We will have that.
we do, from one person or?
Oh, we can get it from two.
Okay.
In fact, we may have it, may already have that from two.
Yeah.
We've had them looked at them a couple of times.
And my concern is putting another one in 5 or 8 years later, trying to replace that one too.
I beg your pardon?
We shouldn't duplicate what we've done here.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm interested in. If, this, you'd expect these to last, 20 years, wouldn't you? Rather than 5, 10. I think this is supposed to be a 20-year job.
All right. And
Let's just say this time it should be put in correctly.
There you go.
Okay. So some issues not on the actual boiler itself as how it was installed?
Correct.
Okay.
anything else? Yeah, we got to do a couple other things. Items needing signature, warrants for bills and payroll, minutes for 8/17, reminders, September 15th, 7 p.m., Planning Board at the Town Hall Annex. Thursday, September 16th, 4 p.m., Economic Development Committee, Town Hall Annex. Thursday, September 16th at 6:30 p.m. is the Garden Club here at Town Hall. Thursday, September 16th at 7 p.m. is the Zoning Board of Appeals at the Town Hall Annex. Monday, September 20th at 6 p.m. is the Water District at Town Hall. Monday, September 20th at 6:30 p.m., the 12-town group is meeting here at the Town Hall Annex. And Tuesday, September 21st, 6 p.m., the Selectmen's meeting here at the Town Hall Annex and reporting, Parks and Rec Committee, and the Director, and the Old Home Days Committee. So, good, get him in just right. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Geez, you guys are eager tonight. All those in favor?
I'm hungry.
Quick draw.
Good night.